Hello, Northstar here with another Hearts Iron 4. Got the Damarun single player US Socialist Let's Play. Now, as I sat around a dying fire, the heat is currently not working, and so I bought some wood to keep warm in this late spring day. It's quite cold, and I'm especially sensitive to cold. My long COVID, but it's unquestionably cold regardless. It's hard not to get philosophical sometimes as you stare at dying embers. Come up with analogies. I know some people may hate me talking about these things, but it's worth saying. Uh, it's hard for some not to see dying embers of fire, like the dying embers of socialism in the world today. Uh, the last remnants being stamped out by U.S. imperialism in Cuba, and whatever was left of it in China, and probably soon the semi-socialist movement in Burkina Faso. It's tempting to see things like a dying fire, and there may be some truth to that analogy. Although remember, a fire can jump back to life if you just add more fuel. But it's capitalism itself that's like the dying fire, if you really think about it. It's existed, it's only been able to sustain itself so long through continuous new frontiers, whether the American West, which I wanted to say something about this prick, Earl Bowder. Uh, he may be a communist, he may be a socialist, but he's hardly worthy of the name. This prick, this bastard, excuse my language, but Browder tried to make excuses for the U.S. push west, the genocide of the Native Americans, but say that the U.S. could transcend to a higher form of expansion by spreading the ideals of socialism around the world. It sounds dangerous and more nationalistic than the internationalist tendency of any socialist. And I really wish there were different communist advisors in the game, but um, in our own world, it's continuous exploitation of frontiers, such as the Amazon, which is increasingly burning. And there wasn't too long ago that what if someone had nicknamed the Chernobyl of the Amazon happened, where there was a massive oil spill, devastating climates in inland parts of the Amazon rainforest in the deepest parts. Now people live in there, but it's devastated the ecosystems in certain areas. I think it was Chevron, those bastards who were behind it. Um, Might have been BP or something. You know, Deepwater Horizon was BP. It was somewhere around here, the Gulf of Mexico, or air quote Gulf of America. Yes. As capitalism runs out of frontiers and the rate of profit declines, more and more investment to get the same returns is required. It turns on itself. The U.S. goes fascist. This is why I'm trying to leave the country, trying to follow my last possible way I might be able to utilize some connections to get out while there's still time. Um, Individuals may die. The system may not, I may be trapped here, and the system may cut the food stamps I want to survive, the welfare programs that I have been able to get despite being screwed of SSDI because of work for universities not paying into it. May murder millions, may carry out yet another genocide for worst case scenario, just like the US. I just recently learned about the US role in the Guatemalan genocide, which I thought I knew about it. I knew it killed a lot of people. I'd heard the low end estimates of 50,000 dead. Turns out it may have been as much as 100,000, 200, even three by some estimates. Probably the most credible estimates are around 100, 150,000. Um, over a time period, rather long time period, keep in mind, of like 30 years. So that's 10,000 people a year or something, maybe. It wasn't it took a while to ramp up, and it was a period at the end where it was cooling down. But the U.S. can only go about killing people and carrying out this Project Empire for so long. The collapse of U.S. aid has revealed just how much of the media around the world was really funded by U.S. aid, and which is really acting as an extension of the CIA's propaganda, and working with NED to control narratives around the world. Uh, and now the U.S. is going fascist, and individuals may die. But in the end, you're not going to sustain a country by turning fascist like the U.S. It's fascism eats itself, and maybe the sparks of revolution will rise from ashes. Who knows? After if Trump ends democracy and things go very poorly, who knows what will happen when he's gone and the system is clearly not worked. I won't be around to see that, whatever it is, but it'll be interesting to watch for some. We're talking many years in the future. I'd probably be dead of old age, if not by the system cutting off my means of survival when I'm too sick to work, and not funding research into cure for long COVID. But that's depressing. I don't mean to keep you guys too focused on that. Here, this is not history. This is socialism. And despite Bowder being the bastard advisor here, a more virtuous socialism rising in the U.S., hopefully, than what Bowder preached. I may do some anti-communist raids at some points because I assume FDR would not like this guy. I don't like this guy, but in the end, it's going to be democratic socialism in the U.S., and it is going to be having to save the Soviets from the Nazis, because this bastard is going to try and eat up all of Europe, and although he'll have a bit more of a fight in his hands than historically with the Habsburgs and Austrian Czechs, looks like they're trying to do their Czech and Taunt focus path, I think, because they've already formed their faction. They can invite Romania, Yugoslavia, and maybe Hungary and Bulgaria to invade. They get you Romania or Hungary, then the Nazis will have their historical allies. They'll have to conquer them instead. And Poland might ally with the Soviets, so this might be harder, but they still haven't had their civil war here against Stalin and the Soviet Union. It's 37. There's very good right opposition tends to not take the heavy industry focuses that give them a fighting chance against Nazis. So unlike the left opposition, which actually industrializes more strongly even the center, apparently, it's much more military factories. So the long-term factor kind of if you have a late World War II is less than the center, which is left than the right opposition. But that's if you have like a 41 war. This is probably going to happen right in, I mean, it should say 43 war. It's probably going to happen right in 41, like historically. Anyways, and I'm approaching my own civil war. I apologize, it's been so long since the last video. I'm going to be creating a spy. See you soon, by the way. Just look at that. It's been tough, rough with my long COVID. These videos are very overwhelming, but sometimes you just got to do it. While I did a lot off camera, including creating a ton of templates, I don't have time to go through them all. And right after I get interwar artillery in 38 days and create some to use self-propelled, I'll probably add light and medium self-propelled versions to the cavalry I've got, because eventually I'll have tank divisions with light self-propelled, and eventually I'll switch that to templates to use medium when I have more military factories. That'll be, so it'll be divisions I'll be adding in tanks, obviously, so it'll be like eventually medium tanks, motorized infantry, they're the basis of any tank division, and then medium self-propelled, like a couple battalions that light earlier when I'm using light tanks, and because they can keep up with the light tanks, the light self-propelled. Maybe even create an infantry template that has light self-propelled artillery for like a shock infantry that's only worthwhile with something like the US, where you have incredible industry. Very few nations can afford to do something like that. Quality over quantity. They're undoubtedly better than towed artillery. They just cost way more. All right. And I don't like adding a ton of artillery to infantry divisions with their width use and stuff. So it would probably be like 1 or 2 battalions add to infantry instead of 1 or 2 of towed for a little hardness and a little more soft attack. Um, oh yeah, last thing. I've marked pretty much everything obsolete. These are work in progress. When I get new MAO traits, eventually I'll be adding MAO, and I'll be adding level 2 torpedoes in the torpedo cruiser. The story will just be using level 1. It's already proportionally more armed relative to survivability. The torpedo cruiser with level 2 torpedoes. So, and well, these are already, they have 54 torpedo attack, and this is before they downrate all naval damage. So 54 attack, that'll be 20% that they gain from tech later. That will be around 64 attack, then goes down. All strength damage is reduced by 60%, so it's like 37. And then there's a ram chance it can be up to double damage, so or it averages around 40%, I think. So this will already be more damage it takes to sink another 36 destroyer. I don't want too much overkill because I expect to encounter a lot of enemy destroyers, so it's a balance between that and, of course, the more torpedoes I add, the slower the destroyer gets. Torpedo cruisers, it's almost never overkill. Their job is to add survivability to fleet to tank hits for the destroyers and to try and take down battle cruisers and battleships if they can get in a broadside of torpedoes in those. All right. But I am starting to reform my. I've got to train fewer divisions soon. What I'm going to end up doing is training bigger ones. They might spend fewer larger ones. They might spend longer in training. Sometimes, or just fewer, because these were already getting sized up to much larger divisions. I have less time in the Civil War, so I'll probably eventually be training 12K trained divisions and just have one in training at a time. Very little more expansion of my army, so I'll have to make do with what I've had. I've changed pretty much all these templates. A few are been upsized to 10K exercise divisions. Actually, I think they already were. Some of these have already been switched to half support companies, so they lose experience, they get switched, get up to regular with those. Got some 10 and 13K exercise divisions still. These guys are never going to get to regular unless I give them more equipment, so I've created a priority equip, which I'll enable equipment on later when I have the rifles to spare, which I don't even have enough in the stockpiles. Yeah, I still got a lot of exercise divisions actually, but I've started to add transition some of them to one with support companies. Let's see, guys. I've only got about 7,000 rifles in stockpiles. I'm trying to remember. I think I need 1,000 to avoid negative events, so I got enough to avoid that. Yeah, that's actually what it was. I've put off some offers on some foreign stuff. Yeah, these guys can get split up the few Johnson and fours. So I'm buying from Belgium and the Netherlands what rifles they have. Well, it's not super efficient. I've been selling rifles over and now I'm buying them. I only have a small number of the foreign types, so it allows me to give out a few, but keep a lot of rifles still in reserve. There's no way to otherwise to say, oh, I want to distribute 20% of the stockpile, at least not without an insane amount of micro. So that's how this is working. And I've mostly been selling rifles in like Latin America. I've been buying from the Low Countries, which they'll have to be industrial giants to have a shot against the Nazis. So let's go. Some music. Krakow. As a whole, Krakow is not waiting for kind words or praise. It's waiting for weapons ammunition. It was on my loading screen. I think it's appropriate here. Get music, volume up. Cool. All right. Yep, Belgium and the Netherlands are selling rifles. To remind you guys, Belgium is going communist. The Netherlands haven't decided their path. This is unlike the other US-Mexico game I've got going on, multiplayer, where the Belgium is going kind of, they haven't decided their path, but I actually saw just before I checked the save, I noticed a national spirit. They're actually going communist because of Spartacus League influence in that one. But they were taking their democratic path, historical, I think, tripartite government. So they're not forming the EU in that game, and the Netherlands are going fascist in that one. This is different. Belgium is taking their communist path. Netherlands haven't decided what they're doing. I think this is before they fix their ability to Kiev to Germany. They'll tend to Kiev to UK, so they'll either be going monarchist or democratic. Might try to form the EU. We'll see. I think communist Belgium can actually invade them. Try and flip them communist or something. In fact, let's take a quick look. Focus tree. They might intervene in Spain. They can form an EU. Or get a guarantee from the Soviet Union, which is probably actually more useful for them because they'll actually survive if they join the Comintern, or at least become a government exile, versus they form in the European Union. Although that'll invite the UK, so that'll stop them from joining Axis. That would actually be very important, and then they'll maybe become a government exile of the UK if the UK takes over the faction. Huh. Yeah, that might be useful. I don't see anything about them. Plane purchases in the Netherlands, inviting the Netherlands to a faction, which can lead to them federalizing, making Netherlands a puppet, but I don't think that changes their ideology. Oh yeah, Portugal's going communist, by the way. Internationalism. Italy is too. Yeah, the Nazis are going to have an uphill fight on their hands. A lot of strong socialist opposition. They should be able to overrun it, but it'll take them a lot longer. I think they'll still do it close to historical times for invading the Soviet Union, but they'll be a lot weaker, which is good because the Soviets will also be a lot weaker. It means whatever help I can have offer like volunteers make a big difference. But yeah, spirit of pushing for a more equal, fair, honest world. I'll never die entirely. I do not. Even if people stop calling it socialism, come up with a new name for the ideas in the future, or eradicate that socialism by burning all the books and such, which the right wing will try and do. It won't matter. Ideas exist, and now I sound too much like a darn liberal, but they exist outside of anything particular, and as long as the material, and this is, as I should say, as long as the material conditions support, then people will come back with the same ideas in the future. It's not in human nature to accept oppression and what's essentially slavery to the interests of the very rich. Heck, part of how the Nazis rose to power was by fooling people into thinking that they were protecting them against the very rich, when in fact they were working with them. Alright, why am I putting divisions here? I think I'll put this to 6K so I can merge it up with another. I hope that's what I was up to. Would have been smart. Probably need fewer divisions. Clark's going to try and grab this airfield very early. I think I've shifted a few more men to Bradley and MacArthur. MacArthur will very aggressively push. Problem is Bradley's cautious, so he plans slower. Very quickly, I'll try and make plans and grab Nashville. Even though I won't have a core on anymore, there's still a lot of factories there. Bradley will be doing Texas. If you guys see my multiplayer game, you've got an idea of my strategy, which will have to be different because this will be an earlier war. I'm less prepared, but I'll be trying to grab this supply hub and this supply hub and defend this river line and try and grab at least what's north of this river in Texas and preferentially defense lines down here more. If I can grab this supply hub in Dallas, that's really great. And Little Rock with its 2 factories and a little bit of aluminum would also be nice to get control of. Eventually, the Texas oil fields will deprive the Confederacy of oil, so I want those too. Anyhow, I just deployed these guys. Wait a second. The training brigade. Train battalion. Yeah, it gets basic infantry equipment. I guess I don't mind an extra day of that. These guys have a pitiful 26 rifles. That's... Well, no, they lose experience with each when they... It's a percentage of it when they change templates, at least in this version. I think they consider that a bug and fix that in the new update. Alright, 12k training division. Or not training, exercise. And so darn many templates. I need to mark more of them obsolete, probably. Boom, boom. Consolidate. It consolidates what the rifles, the men, and what training, has been done already on them, averaging out the experience. Wait, they still only have 2,000 men? It doesn't actually reduce their experience until the newbies arrive. You know what? I'll leave it with this because I don't want... Wait a second, that reduced their experience to 13. Huh? Okay, I'm gonna go back a day because I only went a day in and that was stupid. Apparently I was completely wrong. Downsizing a template can reduce their experience even though it makes no sense. But merging doesn't reduce experience. Try obviously not to go back often. That's get the stuff to guys in Nashville. All right, purchase offer accepted. Yeah, but I can still merge them into another 6k. Idea is I don't want to have so many men arrive and then later when I'm merging even more battalions in, have men go back. They've already received all training. It's inefficient. So there we go. And how about the missing equipment? Have to be the same exact thing. They can merge. Cool. So next time they merge in, and I'll have to size it up from like 6 to 9, maybe. Maybe I'll just go right to 7. I think I have a 7K exercise battalion. Nope. Exercise brigade. I probably have something else that's 7K size, but here we go. I have a lot of stuff I didn't want to find later. Something I should have generated that could save me army XP to make while it was free. I did spend a little to add line artillery. It's 20 to add it where there's none. To a couple. And motorized artillery. Motorized to the cav. Because stuff that remains cav and doesn't get any tanks. Fast moving just to fill in behind tank division breakthroughs. Need a little artillery for support. Whereas actually stuff that's going to assault will have, say, self-propelled to go on tanks, or some of it might go mechanized self-propelled. But, this guy's gaining experience so slow. Could give Bradley offensive doctrine. And 5 days again, 4. Yeah, I should have enough time to at least, if it was 5 days again, 0.4. I think I have enough time after this to still give thorough planner to Eisenhower, at least before anyone hits their planning cap. But I'm running out of time, so yeah. More aggressive assaulter. He will be attacking. I think the single player, the multiplayer game, I made the mistake of not giving anyone aggressive assaulter because I figured I'd grab stuff quick and be defending, but it does look like the competitors are smart enough to rush divisions in here and there. Yeah, I don't like MacArthur, but I'm going to have to give him aggressive assaulter. And Bradley will be getting medals next, and then Eisenhower. People already field marshals. I'd eventually like to promote these two. I don't have command power for it. Not that song. Ah, Scandinavian Summer Suite. I like that one. Music. Let's see. May 11th is the first. Those, next thing actually gets done is Pennsylvania infrastructure, at which point. Oh, because I'm doing the purchase agreements now. Just stick this, get rid of Pennsylvania factories as soon as I complete that infrastructure. And 27, 4 more days, maybe 5. Is it these guys, the party equip? They still don't have their M4s. Yeah, they're not in stockpile, but it doesn't say they have them. Must be under deployment. Yeah, they all way of Springfield rifles. I hope they just disappear into thin air for no reason. It's hopeful music, keeping with. It's funny. Liberal capitalist democracy co-opted a lot of the symbolism of freedom and hope, and yet, as we've all seen, it's become increasingly impressive as it transformed into neoliberalism, austerity. Look at what has been forced on a lot of European countries, with austerity increasing military spending, and what's happening in the US with all welfare programs being slashed, and government basically run by billionaires, the Doge fuckers. One of the biggest mistakes socialists made, and you can't really blame them because they came out of the Soviet Union, which was a terrible place for a hopeful ideology to come out of, given the country's very hopeless history. Might have been different if it came, say, out of Scandinavia or the US. But not taking the symbolism of hope and for a better future, which is very much belongs more to socialism than an ideology. It's all about exploiting your fellow man and destroying the planet, which is what capitalism is. That's what it's at its core. Mississippi citizens. Governor of Mississippi has announced he has mobilized the state's National Guard for what he called an extended period of training and exercises. The War Department claims it has no knowledge of any planned maneuvers in Mississippi. It also appears the National Guard units took their full allotment of supplies and live ammunition with them when they marched out, raising questions about just what they are preparing for. Very unsettling. Mississippi citizens and the state formed militia units that will become active when the war breaks out. Yeah, in the U.S., for those who aren't clear, because there is a National Guard template for the U.S. Why does it show the center of the radius from here when the airfield's over here? Well, actually, that's a good thing. That means this airfield is actually well positioned, the one in Kentucky, to control Appalachia. I didn't realize that. I figured it was from where the airfield physically is located. So the U.S. has state and national guards. Their state national guards are under the direct control of the governors of states usually. Historically, some of them were co-opted, if I remember correctly, by the Confederacy. So this is a history repeating itself. And there were things like governors refusing access to them for the Iraq War and Vietnam. So pacifist movements, when they couldn't get the federal government to change their tune, they got the governors, sometimes their state governments, to change their tune. You know, to oppose an imperialist war across the world that didn't benefit Americans in any way. You know, and American companies are now operating just fine in Vietnam and had been since before then, the Cold War. It's not like the U.S. didn't need to fight this war. It got its way without it. In the end, it was never necessary. And yeah, the government has obviously socialist tendencies, Vietnam, but the U.S. doesn't have to control everything about another country's system of governance. It's that level of demand for total control that makes the world hate the U.S. very often. Much of it, those who aren't brainwashed, they're thinking we're some of the good guys. No, we, and I say this because I am an American, and live in the U.S. Not just because I'm so critical or something. Still haven't received the extra men. It's only got 30. It's got some of the extra allotment, but there we go. Arsenal democracy. I've now got 79 rifles. So just basically as each battalion gets enough of its most basic training done, that their drill sergeants feel comfortable leasing them. They go out and join this division I'm slowly building. I think when I had this whole 1 battalion to start a division thing, just basically enough training to get a single division commander ready and finish the training of the battalion. I mean, the division. When I was doing that, I didn't realize how close the Civil War was. There's not time for this, so I'm going to have to start training larger. I mean, I could just keep merging stuff, but it takes more of my time, and, excuse me. But it does give me a fine layer of control. The game doesn't always distribute equipment completely evenly, and that's why this is 18, 17, and 25. It's not even in any particular order. That's a great way to get inefficient allocation equipment versus just one bigger template. Tomorrow I think I can deploy that. But yeah, history could have been different. Hindenburg disaster. Okay. The German passenger airline airship Hindenburg was destroyed while attempting to dock at the Lakehurst Naval Air Station in the United States for reasons not yet determined. The airship was engulfed in flames and crashed to the ground, claiming 35 lives. Due to scarcity and expensive helium and the U.S. ban on exporting it, the Hindenburg, like all German passenger airships, was ultimately engineered to use hydrogen, which provided greater lift but is also flammable. Public faith shaken by this disaster and the rise of much faster passenger aircraft, this could spell the end of the era of airships. Ooh, the humanity. That's something a reporter historically said when the disaster happened. Because I guess he lacked other more smarter words to say. Is due to use of hydrogen and lax air safety regulations. It's worth noting you can tighten air safety regulations as Germany in the game. If you oppose Hitler, and then you're trying to take the secret HOI4 Empire path, which requires Hindenburg not blowing up. Such ridiculousness, but yeah, the U.S. didn't have to become. It had already been a force for empire in the world, let's be honest. The U.S. had been doing coups all over in like the 1920s in Latin America, but had backed off of that for a while with FDR. Didn't have to return to those things. FDR's legacy could have lived on. The only way that could have happened, though, it would have been if the U.S. went in a democratic socialist path. Capitalism was ultimately to push us right back into imperialism as it did. But yeah, with views like this, it's only a matter of time until these Mac people come for me and try and put me in a forced labor camp or something, so I gotta get out of the U.S. This country is going fascist. Experts on fascism are now starting to move out of the country. The Democrats are proving they always were just the left arm of the Republicans, not providing real opposition. Most of them, it's people acting like their hair is on fire because they didn't see us coming, but some people did. I did. He being right, though. I mean, when I saw Trump got elected, I knew it was going to be fascism. Some stalled out, hoping, nope. Point of no return has been passed. Like when I saw Kamala Harris, ooh. To remember, her brother-in-law is an executive in. It doesn't matter. She's very connected to the whole establishment. But when I saw that she wasn't gonna take a stance against Gaza, I knew she couldn't win. She wasn't gonna generate the excitement from the left wing of the Democrats that would get the boots on the ground and people knocking on doors to actually win. I knew Trump was going to win at that point. I knew we were all screwed, almost certainly. There was a small chance she could still, but like, nope, she's probably going to lose the election. Now, mind you, it wasn't just the non-aligned vote that cost her the election, but that was the key issue that had a lot of the more left-leaning Democrats knocking out there and working really hard to see her elected. I mean, they still voted for her mostly, but reluctantly. And even if they knocked on doors, not very enthusiastically. You can't force people to be enthusiastic about someone who's a total piece of shit like her. Wanting to just add another U.S. genocide to the list, as if the Guatemala genocide, the Bangladeshi genocide, the Indonesian genocide, the East Timor genocide, the East Congo genocide, the Yemen genocide, and there was another one I learned about recently. The U.S. has done so many genocides, and never directly U.S. troops killing people, but always puppet regimes getting money and training. In case of the Guatemalan genocide, the U.S. aid actually trained 30,000 police officers in Guatemala to, quote, keep the police peace while the genocide was happening. That is to deal with resistance and sometimes disruptive protests and such against the mass murders that were occurring. And this is the same time the CIA and the US aid were training down in Uruguay. They were training in before that, I think, where was it? Bolivia. They had this guy who was circling through Latin America and teaching police torture methods until he was abducted by leftist guerrillas in Uruguay and murdered. Executed. They didn't actually mean to execute him. They hoped to do a hostage exchange, but when it was turned down, they ended up executing him. The leftist guerrillas. Because they didn't know what else to do with him, I guess. Probably seen someone's face or something. They weren't just going to release him. They actually, historically, when the guy was accidentally shot when he was abducted, they actually got him medical treatment, like smuggled into the hospital. They were trying to keep him alive. It's very clear they did not mean to kill him. But yeah. This is part of why I have so many different size brigades here, so I can merge them together like this. Some of them exist only for the brief period in enlarging the division. 128 rifles. That's starting to get to be a decent number. Now gains half an experience a day. Might get to train before the war. Maybe. Probably not, but it can sit and they can finish the exercises while these guys sit here for a while and plan on attacking the airfield. Assuming there's Confederate divisions. Sorry, I can't just grab it unopposed. If I can, I'll just send this division. And they'll dig in here instead of here. That airfield is important. It controls a lot of the East Coast. Realistically, it's on the wrong side of the Appalachian Mountains and should just control Appalachia. But I bet the air base is actually the circle programs from here instead of here, where it'd be good for Appalachia. If it is in the right place, though, it would project air power into Appalachia, which I don't want either once they control it. The Confederates will eventually have some aircraft. They can buy it from the non-aligned states. Alright. Shower the Empires. Oh yeah, named after the broken focus in the U.S. Communist tree. Broken is in, well, one, it can be really overpowered, but two, it often doesn't work correctly, though end monarchism is more messed up. Like the Austro-Hungarian Empire reforms, it doesn't target them, even though they're clearly a monarchy. I mean, it makes sense when the guy just names himself a prince, but I'm pretty sure it doesn't even change to apply him when he names himself a king, which is just messed up. I have to double check. I'm pretty sure, though, in the multiplayer game, even though the Austro-Hungarian Empire is reforming, it doesn't target Hungary, and it should. Might target Poland's monarchist path. They do that, because that was added, I think, before this DLC. Cool. No overflow in that Farragut, I guess. May 14th. Huh. And the last battalion. These guys. Where? Are these, oh no, there it is. These bigger division templates, they need more rifles to even pre-deploy. So even though I can't merge them in as much, it's kind of equivalent, if I remember. I have to think about it. Maybe I should have stuck with my original approach. Anyways, these guys both need to switch to a 8K exercise brigade now. If I have one. Nope. Or a 9K, because I'm not going to have any more 1,000-man divisions coming out. I guess they could turn to 14 to this, but yeah, probably if I merged another, I'd turn to a 15K division. I also renamed everything to make it clear how many men there are. So if I were to turn into something like the 15.6 thousand man assault division, which is a 30 width. In the end, of course, maybe I just want this 26 width. Nah. There's enough supply for 50. And enough width in nearly all terrain when they attack from multiple directions. They'll also have. Fight alongside this. So 30, 32, that would be like 60 here, or 62, or here it'd be 62, but if I attack from even a second direction, it'd be fine, or it'll be 2 width over, so. You know what? It's a matter, though, if I'm actually reaching full size. Isn't it? Yeah, I'll create it. I don't know if 8,000 isn't really a brigade anymore. Yeah, I'll just create an 8K exercise division. There we go. Need some easier way to scroll top, although this works kind of half the mouse wheel, half. Because the game doesn't really expect you to ever have this many bloody templates all at once, but I do. Alright. 7 plus 1 is 8. I don't want to have too many men. The reason why is it takes longer to train more men with a certain number of rifles, and I'm running out of time. If I had all the time in the world, then sure, lots of extra men. Because when they get changed to any kind of template that uses artillery, more trained infantry will add to organization. I do have artillery pieces lying around. 87 plus whatever I haven't sold. If I had to put them all here, it's easier way. At least 574 artillery pieces. It's a less efficient use of industry making all this artillery. But it doesn't go obsolete really ever. Even this tier 1 artillery is still useful in like 1945 if it means having more artillery in brigade. Well, maybe not 45, but like 43 for sure, or 42. Versus infantry, it doesn't have an extra line artillery added. If width is not an issue, it's not huge size of the United States. Rarely. Especially if I'm defending like my coastline or against a Canadian invasion. Speaking of which, Canada hasn't picked their political path yet. All I know is they're broken off the UK. Hmm. Right, well, keep working on that training brigade. It's simpler to keep track of this way. I do have some template that was just a little larger than 8. Would have been auxiliary. Maybe I turned something like this. I was experienced with the size up anyways, but just jump straight to 9. Yeah, I have too many bloody templates already, so I probably switch them to that. In which case, excuse my occasional British sayings. I like to copy sayings from other cultures, but I assure you I'm American. But you know, copy the best things from other cultures. Not some petty nationalist. Do I make the switch is the question. The more training they have, the more they lose, but they also acquire experience more slowly. I don't know. Maybe I just add one more these training battalions. That will eventually get equipment, and that will merge in here. Up to 9,000 men. So an 18 width and a 32 width. Well, you know that adds up to 50. Could do a frontal attack on mountain without being over width. Of course I won't, but let's look at these guys push here, and the smaller one, this will just be holding the ground here. Meanwhile, these guys got their rifles. Yeah, either really saw logistics or they got reassigned to some other division I wasn't aware of. Exercise. If I accidentally had something that had equipment enabled, that would be likely where they ended up. Check the various templates. If something has M4s, I'll know. It's also unwieldy having this many templates. These I know don't have them, even though they should. These don't have them. These don't. It's probably just still moving through my logistics network. Double check. Nope. 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 So it must just be. I don't think it would just delete those M4A1s that I bought. It'd be a bug. One that probably wouldn't have noticed all this time. Northstar Solidarity. Hey, fits with my username. Northstar. Har. I know it's a little egotistical, so forgive me. It does fit with the intended symbols of my username, which is always about being like a guiding light, you know, doing the right thing. But where people don't really know which way is the right way, or Listen to the wrong voices, demagogues, right-wing pieces of crap, Bonapartists, all that. Bonapartists are people who aren't really, they're not like fascists, but they start talking about third way. Like, think Clinton's third way, but with authoritarianism layered on top of it. That's Bonapartism. Some people accused Yang of being secretly a Bonapartist, you know, Yang when he was running for Democratic. Because he tried to say not left but right but forward, and that's literally the like unofficial calling card of a Bonapartist. It's the illusions of nonpartisanship. Tsar Boris, though a king, would actually be considered a Bonapartist by that way of looking at things. Sorry, Unifier. Arms factory moved from New England, North Carolina. That does matter, actually, because it affects, I guess, another civ in New England. I can win this war with very little industry if I put my talents, what remains of my long code of my talents as a strategist to use. If I really need it, I could even actually accept volunteers from like the Soviets and stuff. They'll try and send me, and maybe I should. Whereas my multiplayer game, the ideologies, the rest of the world pit will give me a lot of time. I have to worry about the Nazis, so I can't extend my civil war as much. So maybe I take volunteers from anyone who will offer me them and let the AI. It means I can't drag on my war forever. It won't give me building slots, but there's probably still enough time for one or something, especially if I don't push and let the volunteer nations, and they'll train their generals. The Soviet generals really need the experience. They suck at first. When they get rid of Stalin, they don't keep the cow by Stalin trade, obviously, so their generals will learn faster. Because you don't have Stalin's reign of terror. I mean, he wasn't as evil as people portray him. He really did seem to believe he was doing what was right for his country and not just killing people for killing's sake, but Stalin kept people in fear and kind of undermined what socialism was supposed to really be about. There's no question of that either. He made some serious mistakes. He was the wrong leader for the Soviet Union. The Soviets had a lot of incompetent leadership. And that they were actually surprisingly competent compared to earlier Russian leaders. That's because Russia has a long history of incompetent leadership. In fact, this Pt10 fuck evil as he is, he's probably the most competent person they've had. But not, again, he's a vile person. It's like, you know, evil genius kind of. I don't buy into the he's stupid and incompetent line on him. I've seen he's pulled off opposing the US as much as he is malevolent, evil fuck, but more competent than past Russian leaders. More competent than Stalin, for sure. I mean, he was a KGB asshole, and those intelligence types usually are smart. It's not like he came out of military intelligence. There's a running joke. Military intelligence is an oxymoron. If you know anyone who's ever had anything to do with like the U.S. Army, it was an art to see for a while. So I learned this joke, which was I was a little offended by that joke because I actually was interested in military intelligence, but that was because I knew there were a lot of not competent people, and I wanted to be more competent and maybe save lives. This is before I became a leftist. I grew up very conservative, so. May 15th. That's stressful for me. Maybe I should just like turn down the number of dockyards in each destroyer and go back to parallel production. It's less efficient than serial, but it means I don't have to keep making sure I don't get overflow in the destroyers, especially these cheap escort ones. I'm producing more expensive fleet destroyers. Not that much more expensive. Because I don't have sonar systems. Torpedo cruisers. 23 days in a moratorium, then I'll be switching to relief of command for Army XP gain. Extra time I spent in this, I kept obsessing over it, but the extra time I spent in overwhelming firepower, I save more Army XP with the templates I'll be designing, then I'll lose in relief of command. Yeah, I'm a perfectionist. It's actually kind of rough playing a game like this. You're as much a perfectionist as me. There goes the Great Depression. Gone. No more. Oh no, New England infrastructure isn't done yet. Pretty sure this number of consumer goods factories just dropped. I may actually need to I'll push this here, because if it's nothing starting on it, it won't matter, but yeah. Hearts of Barbed Wire. It's a good song, but I'm going to pause it for a sec. Why? Look at this. All right, just did the Fair Labor Standards Act. The choice between the Old Age Pension Act and stability. Losing some support in Congress. Or starting towards the Tuition Navy Act, which is going to be desperately required, but I do not have enough support yet. And I don't think I run screw the naval treaties. Improved worker conditions, yeah. So the lobbying will slow that. Yeah. Although the first thing I got to do is probably reach out to Wear Group or do my research slot. It's a choice. Do I want a research slot or 15% consumer goods factory factor and some political power gain? I'm also going to obviously go to war economy when my war breaks out. So it'll be a little while of not running a focus. Industry or science? Industry or science? Kind of depends on what science I'd be doing, doesn't it? At this particular point in the game, I'd be ahead of time with any of that. I'd be ahead of time with any of that. Be ahead of time with that. So probably just go into Navy techs. I'm already working my way up fire control methods. Might go for earlier. Body A. I'm still at 50% consumer goods from Undisturbed Isolation. Alright, yeah, I need to reach out to the Wear Group. I need the political power and such. Then Scientific Research and Development Office, that's obviously a priority. I mean, with the Old Age Pension Act, well, I still have the support in the House for it. I just barely do. Industry over science. I could afford to think more long term with the science in my multiplayer game, but here I may have to intervene earlier in Europe, and I'll need industry for that. I'll be employing Chambers and Harry White right away. So give me 7.5% of my factories back, and my current economy law, and a little more political power, and actually a little from stability too. So it'll be a little more than 7.5% my factories back. It's like 15% faster industry snowball. It's not nothing. In the long run, usually tech slots are preferable to industry, but I have to think shorter term here. I have certain industry goals, if you will, thresholds I want to reach by certain dates, benchmarks. That's the word I'm looking for. And long COVID brain doesn't always remember words. To reach the right benchmarks by the right dates, I'll definitely need. Yeah, I was right. I did get more factories here. So as soon as the New England infrastructure is done, I'll go right into building the factories in New England. Although I'll want to switch it with this, so it's a full 15 at that point, because this will go from 4 to 15. So start in New Jersey, Missouri, Kentucky infrastructure. Also, what I realized in my multiplayer game, there's a gap in the rail network that develops when non-aligned states break off. It's specifically here. I need this rail connection. Then this is a level 1 railroad, so I'm turning it to level 2 so that, I can actually transport supplies this far. Everything here and further west actually comes by sea from the west coast via the Panama Canal, or if I disable that sea zone, then around the southern tip of South America. Long route, but I have the convoys for it. I'm even selling some, which is working out just fine for me. This is actually more than anything a running total of how much artillery I'll have. Still no one has bought these planes. And didn't expect they'd buy the trains, but the planes be nice. Cool. So May 31st, I need to revisit that. I'll have to do May 19th. This is actually the next thing to watch. Destroyers again. So where the hell are those M4s? Did it maybe just give some of them rifles? Could have. Yeah, it just gave, instead of distributing it evenly, just gave these 2 divisions. That's why. They were probably there the whole time, I didn't notice. Well, that's overkill for these 2 divisions, and underkill? That's not really a word for the rest. Well, it's 10,000 men in these, maybe. They still only have 250 rifles. Okay, that's not overkill. Oh, not at all. Still, I'd like those 2 to not be targeted for more rifles. So I either can change them to an identical template to not lose experience, or take these and turn them ahead of time to what I want them to be. You know, since they got so many rifles so early. These are all priority equipped divisions. These are... the heck is this? An engineering division? I went heavy on... This will be trained before the war, but I don't think there was time to get regular inside. I'd rather have a train with more men. 6,000 men. Could I combine this with the 48th? 10,000 men. 16K? Isn't that one of my division sizes? Something that already has engineers, so I don't... 32 with assault division. That might actually be useful, since I may expect some resistance, and I like to have a few elite divisions do the hardest fighting. Of course, I put these engineers in place specifically. Yeah, I don't have time to hammer and anvil enemies. And I don't think these guys get to regular before the war if I don't do this. Cool. I don't believe this has any equipment activated yet. Oh, it does. Oh, it should be the exercise assault. Uh, I've already done that with 13 divisions. $53 and $7. I don't think this will. I hope this doesn't lose experience. Now I'm gonna merge him. Which this has 6,000 men. This is 10, so it should weigh heavily towards the 7. I think that's about right with what I would expect. I've got 313 rifles. Question is, do they have time to train up? Oh. No, they need about 7 months to reach trained. I'll have to get them more rifles before then. Maybe I should have left him with the rifle equipment on. Yeah, not yet. Maybe when they're closer to fully deployed, so I lose less to attrition. Fewer rifles. Otherwise, they'd be triggered before the war and waste rifles unless I wanted to turn off training for just them. Hope I didn't accidentally destroy experience there. There are some bugs with experience disappearing in this version when you merge units. Apparently, that was a bug and it has been fixed. Also, the issue with embrace democratic institutions is Communist Germany not working right. Didn't fix that until after the new DLC, so I can't. India, civilian land of course. Oh, new music. Shouldn't be this weird mix of underscores, but whatever. It's different. That's for sure. May 19th, May 19th. Cool. So I would have only had one dockyard waste and overflow if I did nothing. One dockyard day, that is. It's assuming something coming from repair queue, which could make it. So I have to keep an eye on this. Should be some badly damaged ships by now. Yeah, we need repairs. USS West Virginia, which is one of my newest ships. It's a Colorado class. Yeah, I'll have to get that started on repairs very soon. That one be active in the Civil War at all. Should take more than 3 hours to repair. Arrive for repairs, I should say. May 29th. Structure now. When did that change? It's a little faster. Oh, some economic capacity surplus rolled in. Huh. So yeah, I've completely removed the Great Depression spirit. I have the Accumulated Wealth Tax Act. Funding for the government thanks to taxing, just money seeing the bank accounts of the very rich. After all, property is taxed, people's homes. Why shouldn't wealth and bank accounts? Got the New Deal, Home of the Free, Monroe Doctrine Enforcer. Something like this might reasonably have like an exemption for the first, I don't know, in today's money, 100,000 you have in bank accounts, but if you got millions in bank account, it probably should be taxed. or in stocks and bonds. Even of course, capital gains and that's taxed, but not the original capital that's not gains at all. Of course, some could argue property taxes, that properties are kind of investment, but I'm pretty sure capital gains from selling a home for more is worth also gets taxed. So people who have homes are double taxed. They're taxed for holding onto the homes, and they're taxed again for whatever they make gains from sales. So definitely doesn't make sense that stocks and bonds aren't taxed in the same way. It's because capitalism relies on encouraging investment by the very rich by not taxing them, and that of course just leads to more inequality, which is why one of the main reasons capitalism is a fundamentally flawed system. Oh, this training brigade is ready to deploy. Could merge him into a... Yep, get a 26 with assault division. I forgot what I wanted. How are these fully trained already? 32 with. Tempted to pull them off training entirely then. Although I need a new general, field marshal, all that. So I have a bigger division I can merge them into. This is ludicrous. I've never used it, but the 18.6k assault template. No longer a template. Gonna see some use. This is ludicrously large division. 36 combat with. Tons of men who won't even be equipped with rifles and are just there to add to that org, make the support companies fight longer. On the other hand, something like this is probably darn near unstoppable. With planning and stuff, I mean, it already was. The Confederates have like little 6 with divisions to pose me. Oh yeah, the entrenchment value is higher the more infantry battalions. I don't know if that's decreased if some of the battalions are under-equipped. Anyways. Boom. Update. This is an enormous division. Lots of men to back up, I guess. Make sure it's very hard to reach the artillery. Maybe they're just standing the artillery pieces with like knives. You try to overrun this artillery piece, I'll stab you, bro. I don't know. Whatever it is, it's ridiculous. It's like the caricature of supposedly enemy of the gates. The Soviets is throwing men at the Nazis. They did not historically do that. That's a lie. It's based... The director got the idea from one story of a division that arrived at the Battle of Stalingrad and didn't have the right equipment. They had rifles, but they had like older ones in the game terms to be like that infantry equipment 1, and they were supposed to go into infantry equipment 2. And so they had older bolt action rifles, and they wanted some machine guns. They were supposed to be told they'd have them, and they were given the rifles on the boat over, which led to a ridiculous. I mean, the gates were like 1 out of 5 men are given rifles on the boat right over. No, it was, or when they arrive on the beach, no, they were given entire division submachine guns on the boat right over. Yeah, they were given no time to familiarize with the new weapons, and it was suboptimal. But these were still replacing old weapons they had received for training purposes with newer weapons they were supposed to fight with. And every single man had a rifle and a couple of clips, which is less than you should. Ideally, you'd want like 4 clips. So they didn't have enough ammo, and they didn't have time to familiarize with the rifles. But the enemy of the gates, most people not having rifles is a huge exaggeration, just outright anti-communist propaganda. Buying to the communists don't value human lives bullshit, which is the opposite of the truth. That was true, then why did the Soviet Union provide free health care for everyone? No, human life is valued. Stalin himself may personally not have valued human life enough, but he was kind of a bastard. All right. I might want to upsize this. Let's see. How many experience a day does this gain? A quarter? Like 100 days? There might be enough time before Civil War. There might not. I have to scale these guys up now, though. Probably want to stop training a little before Civil War so they can start entrenching. I'll leave it be, actually. I did this before, but looking for divisions that are considered already to be regulars, like these. They can be scaled up, both of them. We have 64 width to defend DC. 80 width minimum. Yeah, I can definitely give these guys more men. Make sure the capital doesn't fall, I guess. I mean, this isn't throwing bodies at the problem. I was going to win anyways. It's giving people extra backup that might not be as well equipped. More so that I already have trained men in place when I get the rifles, and I'll get more on lease for rifles this way. 4 powers, I'll look and see. Oh, you already have the men equipped to use the rifles. You just need the extra rifles. Immediately put them to use. This training brigade, that's right. It's gonna merge this 6 into this 8. Boom. For a 14,000 man exercise division. Three and 4 rifles. This could eventually form one of my smallest assault divisions, or like this. It's 26 width. Attack with like 4 of these in a hill. I'm attacking in 2 directions. That's 104 width out of 105. It's perfect. Of course, and actually I won't even fill that width regardless. As long as I got the supplies, it works fine. As long as everyone gets fully trained, I've got the supplies. Alright. Do I want to train a 6K brigade? Do I want to size up something existing? These guys have 10,000 men. They're very under-equipped. One of my better assault divisions are 16K, aren't they? 32 width. Yeah, want another brigade. $6,000 man brigade. here. Uh-oh, supplies getting a little tight there. Maybe here. I want to make sure I can advance down here, if I possible take this airfield Mississippi. So this means that I won't have to defend this plane. It's going to defend a force instead. And avoid the supply hub getting damaged. They want to dig in basically the northern bit of Mississippi and defend. Sure, combat doesn't occur in Tennessee where there's all these factories that get damaged. It occurs here with very little industry and it'll be controlled by the Confederacy. It's all down in Mobile or Biloxi or whatever. Mobile, Alabama, Biloxi, Mississippi. Goodness, I'm an hour and 26 minutes though, so I gotta cut this video any second now. Let me try and get a little further for you guys. Some new music. Oh, we've heard Krakow before. Swedish Solicitor, that's another good one. Civil War ticks closer. Soon I'll be switching army spirits and saving up to go to Grand Battle Plan. Get the command power income eventually from Grand Battle Plan. Trench warfare, entrenchment bonuses. Command power eventually pays for itself, you know, in terms of hiring more admirals, promoting more junior officers, more generals to fill the office, or more traits for generals, that kind of thing. And occasionally doing things like staff office plans, which the Spirit makes cheaper. Which you have so many other demands of command power, you probably shouldn't be running it unless you're doing quick grand battle planning, quick improvisation. Which is eventually what I'll probably switch to when I flip ideology and I know I can do relief of command. At that point I'll spend a lot of command power and have less demands for it. Where in Kentucky am I trying to... Oh, here. Turn this 14 to 15k division. Selling off these M1s, but gathering and distributing M35s and M41s. So of course allows me to just give out a few. Hindsight, I probably should have not sold so many M1s. Should have started stockpiling those sooner. But I can't undo every mistake. I have to be much more experienced in this game and able to learn faster, and I do on long COVID to play more optimally. May 31st, so nothing to mess with for a while here. Oh, it's already doing a bunch of these ones. Huh? There we go. Why is it not concentrating the... Oh, because there's only one. each time it I see. Concentrates 1. Anyways, since there's no way to directly force it to reallocate. Get the USS Downs done sooner. These are all escort destroyers for my convoys. I'm probably building too many. But I didn't want to spend the Navy XP to add MIO trait just yet when I'm going to have a better trait soon. Instead of doing Norfolk, I can do Norfolk News when this reaches size 6. I want the reliability on destroyers because crits can otherwise just wipe them out. Oh yeah, Swedish solicitude. Since we're just listening to that, worth noting, Sweden is going communist. Very definitely. And they have Folkets radio now, which gives communism support and a little bit of democracy. Leftist radio, basically. Take a decision to change their radio national spirit. So yeah, they could ally with the Nazis, with the Allies, because the Allies don't exist. So that might have them, well, there's a Commonwealth of Nations, or that might ally them with the Czech Entente. I'm not sure who their pro-allied leader would actually ally with. Or with the Comintern, they have 3 different leaders they can end up with. They start with the pro-Axis guy, but they can get rid of him via an event, apparently. Which I hope they do. I don't want to have to fight the Swedes on top of everything else, but worst case, I could have to fight the British, the Japanese, the Swedes, and the Nazis all at the same time. With the only historic ally I might have being Italy. Which at least mean I... Oh yeah, and I should not forget Spain, probably in Portugal, so I could land troops here, overland, or you can just go right through the Gibraltar because it'll be controlled. So I can get troops when I enter the war right to the border with Austria, which I assume will be under Nazi control by then. At the starting stages of the war, which might make it a much quicker war, not having to do a D-Day kind of thing. No landing on beaches that are defended. No need for it. And so they can sit around Rome and Florence and my men can organize and eat pastries or whatever until it's time for the offensive. Unlikely. Dig in fortifications, especially with Grand Battle Plan. Basically, I imagine our generals have been doing endless trench work, which is smart. There's no such thing as too many battlefield fortifications. It even says with the Stack Warfare Spirit, which I'll probably eventually take, there's no such thing as too much trench work. There's only insufficient and barely adequate. I'll eventually have a Field Marshal with Defense Doctrine because they all synergize, and in fact they act multiplicatively, some of these bonuses. You can get ludicrously high max entrenchment this way if there aren't any spies to reduce it. Which I'll form OSS to deal with enemy spies where I can in my own territory, but the Italians will have to deal with them in theirs, of course. Alright. Wieder care. I do speak a little German, so I know how to pronounce that. Trying to see about moving to Europe. Some connections if I can. Maybe I may be able to. Well, it may be hard to officially finish the immigration stuff. I might be able to get a visa and just using some connections. People who know people. Find a way to stay in France or Belgium for a while and then apply for immigrant status, like a permanent residency while they're on a visa. Especially if the U.S. continues to slide right, try and argue political refugee, because I correctly fear Otherwise, as a socialist, the MAGA people will come and send me off to forced labor camp at some point. I mean, that's just inevitable if fascism happens in the U.S. They always come for socialists. In fact, the Nazis came for the communists, and then the socialists and trade unionists even before the Jews. uh, they may have done worse things to Jews, but they weren't the first group that they came for, which is to say, socialists they come for very early because they can organize political opposition. They have an ideology that's dangerous to them. Fascists always crush socialists and always prison people just for their beliefs. So, of course, too many European countries are neoliberal and be like, oh, you're socialist, we're not give you asylum. If I was fleeing, a leftist government, they would definitely be like, sure, come on in, but oh, you're a leftist fleeing a right-wing government? No, we don't want you. Unfortunately, capitalism. It's going to be tough. If you ever read Parenti's Black Shirts and Reds, he talks about this, the double standard with refugees from right-wing versus left-wing governments. Because very often, politicians are in the pockets of big, business and billionaires and such. Refugees from far-right governments who, leftists who are fleeing for their lives are by definition considered political undesirable. At least we're during the Cold War, whereas someone who's fleeing from a right-wing government, a left-wing government is right-wing. They're the people like the CIA protected so many fascists who fled from Europe after World War II. Not just Nazis, but like Ukrainian fascist collaborators and such. A whole bunch of them. They settled them up in like Michigan and northern Wisconsin, far from other people. Even they, I guess, understood they were somewhat undesirable. And they didn't want them to create issues in the U.S. They put them in suburbs and rural areas away from the rest of the population. But yeah, that happened, and some of them actually later went on to help the Nixon campaign until Nixon learned who they were, and even he's like, no, I don't want them in my campaign. Parenti documents some of this in some of his books, and there's a book, Fraud, Famine, Fascism, which, although it has flaws in other areas, definitely correctly documents the case of one particular Ukrainian neo-Nazi who the OSS helped settle in Michigan. Factory from California and Louisiana. That's a build slot. Not terribly opposed to that. Who's going to industrialize California soon? Guess I'll have another dockyard there. Gotta think of my Navy. Although I'm going to be outnumbered if I face the combined British, German, Japanese fleet. That's going to be really rough. Might manage if I focus on just defend my coastline on the west coast, which is much more defensible in the east with all these mountains, and try and knock out the British Navy first and then go for the Japanese one. The British is a stronger Navy, so I should take it down first, if possible. Maybe, I forget the math, maybe it's better to go for the weaker one first, but coastline being much more defensible on the west coast is definitely a deciding factor. I don't have like Florida sticking out. It's a shorter coastline and it's more mountainous, which means I can actually defend it, especially if I defend the ports. But even some of the mountains are next to ports. If they land in a mountain that's far from a port, like the Japanese, they're going to have a really hard time pushing, and I'll just push them back into the sea. Really, you just need to defend the ports and areas sometimes right adjacent to them. Because sometimes if they are smart, they'll land like, say, here, next to San Francisco, and they'll attack while they still have supply grace on San Francisco. So they don't have to suffer naval landing penalties if they know that that province is undefended. The AI can find that out with spies or spy planes. At least in this game, the AI doesn't seem to be all-knowing like they are in some games where they always know where your defenses are. walk right into traps and such, and then players call it stupid. No, they didn't know you had a trap there. People used to do this port trap bullshit where they would leave a port undefended, but have all these troops outside it, and they call the AI stupid for laying there. No, the AI didn't know you had a trap on the port. And that's actually suboptimal compared to putting a weak division on the port, defending it, making them suffer heavy losses to take the port and then push him back into the sea. So it's not even a precisely optimal strategy, I'm pretty sure. It's been patched and fixed. May have been that the AI rushes a lot of divisions in to arrive with no organization. I don't know. Just training battalion has gotten way more equipment than I would like. However, they'll be used to reinforce the division that actually needs equipment. And the train brigade's slowly training up. Alright, I saved, right? Nope, not yet. Okay, well. Viewers, I hope you enjoyed this video. It's now 4 minutes, so I'm kind of here. Take care of each other. Be kind to yourselves. May always find guidance started lead you home. Until next time, this is Northstar. Adieu. Best luck. I might even cut this video in two. We'll see.